Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for our national anthem, performed this afternoon by Peter Griffin and his dirt bike.
Hey, this is Ryan Villapoto, and you're listening to DMXS Radio.
All right, everyone, welcome back to DMXS Radio. We appreciate you guys tuning in. As always, thank our sponsors real quick to make this happen. Racer X, MX Sports, W Wheels, OGO Concept, Two Rowers, and of course, the great folks at Dunlop Tires, the best tires in the business. And we've had some pods with Cooper Webb, AP, Malcolm Stewart, Jeremy Martin, Daniel Blair. We have those in the bin. If you guys don't have listened to them, make sure you check them out. And my next guest, he's been on the show for 20 plus years. And we can now officially welcome Chad Reed back on as a 2025 AMA Hall of Fame inductee. Welcome back, Reedy.
Sounds pretty cool.
Dude, have you gotten used to that yet?
No, not yet, I guess. But the event's coming up pretty quick. So,
yeah.
Doing all the hotels and flights and inviting people. It's pretty cool, actually.
Dude,
it is. And I think it's, like, sometimes people downplay it, like, are you excited? Or is it like, I don't know. Sometimes I think that maybe some people are not, but like, it's very much an earned thing. It's not a given, like races and championships. Like, it seems like you just single-handedly go after them, but something like a Hall of Fame thing is pretty cool, I think.
Dude, and here's the thing is, you've been on the record as saying when you left Australia, you said on the Title 24 podcast with RC, you're like, when you leave, you don't think about records and wins. You just go and you're chasing your dream. But to have your career recognized for all that you have accomplished, to me, is the coolest thing, because after your career, after all of the heat and the excitement of it being done, you can sit back and reflect, and the ultimate, admiration for your sport and your peers is to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, stand beside the greats from the 50s all the way up until the present time. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And it is. It's just one of those things where you just head down, butt up, and you make it happen. And I think it's cool that it comes later in your life, right? Like, it's not like you're in your 20s when you get inducted. So it comes at a time when your appreciation and your reflection is so much different. And so for me, I feel like it's a perfect timing thing for me. And, like, what am I, almost 6 years retired now. So it is. It's a really sweet moment.
When you look back, at your career, and it's one of those things where you reflect back and look at numbers and stats and all those things. But what about the emotion of knowing that your name is beside the best that have ever raced in our country? I mean, that to me says, maybe, I'm speaking for myself, but that says more than all the stats combined. I mean, that right there is the ultimate stat.
In Supercross in particular, every record available, I'm not far down the list or I'm at the top. So I feel pretty good about that. Recently doing some side projects on other things, and just like what I probably look back most on is like, Ricky's 3 years older than me. I'm 3 years older than James.
Yeah.
And like, we were all so similar in age, and you look at the numbers that we put up and the podiums we put up against each other while having to compete, where I guess as a Hall of Famer or about to go in, that's what makes me proud, because I raced the best and I put up big numbers with them there, where, some of the other guys that are really good riders, and they're, in their own rights, they're great, but they have big chunks of years, 11 years, or more between some of the greats that they're racing. And so I just think that as a 43-year-old, it's really awesome to look back and, maybe I don't have all the records or all the championships that I honestly think I should have had. But I look back and my name is amongst the greatest of the greatest, so that part's really cool. That's what I enjoy. Like, that's probably, as I reflect going in, that's the reflection I have, is just, it wasn't easy. And there was a lot of, Sunday mornings where I was, not the happiest of people. Getting beat up by James and Ricky. But I think now you see a whole nother side of it, and there's an appreciation, that I never thought would be possible.
How did you hear about the nomination first, and then how did you hear about it when you were inducted? Or you got in?
So that would be the only thing I thought was a little bit lame, is like, you kind of think that it would be more of a surprise. And I guess it is hard to be a surprise, right? But, like, I was asked a bunch of questions. Where was it? Daytona Supercross. And so, like, I'm not, you're not silly. You understand how it works. And obviously that. But I didn't get, like, no surprise email or anything like that. It was kind of just, I actually want to say Davey Coombs called me.
Okay.
And I was like, well, so I'm like, is it official? I'm like, because I haven't received anything official, like, I don't have an email, telling me or congratulating me or anything like that. And then, so that was like when you're on the ballot, then, and then the first phone call I believe I received was from Brock, and so Brock Glover, people listening, but, and that was a pretty special one, because I've grown really close to Brock over the last years and doing all the combines, and he's an individual I really enjoy and somebody who I really respect. And so that was quite an honor to have somebody, like Brock call me and break the news that I was, that I had made the class.
Well, that in and of itself is pretty cool, because he's a legend himself. And because I was wondering that, it's like, because you watch the breaking news and you see things come across. So I was always wondering how they did it, with the riders. But have you written your speech yet?
I'm probably not going to write a speech. I'll probably just do points. Like, I think that it's different. Like, it's hard. I'm torn. Like, there's different things. Like, I don't know that it's not like a championship celebration, it's more of a, like, how do you give homage to your, people that have played a big part of why it was available to me, like the opportunities that I had. So that would be probably my route that I try to take, is, touch on my younger years a little bit, and then obviously cross over into my professional life. Yeah.
You don't want to forget anybody. I mean, it has to be written down. You can't go by just...
I don't know that I'm going to go down a list of people. Like, I kind of want to cut that out of it. I mean, for me, it's like I can sleep at night knowing that every individual I worked with, I was always so appreciative, and most of them, I regularly talk to, and they're close in my, still in my inner circle. So I don't know that they need a personal, thing. It's more just kind of having them there and celebrate the moment, I think, is the,
that's the most important.
And again, it's not everybody can make it, but the people that do make it those people mean a little more to me, because they make the effort to come, like, it's like, I guess if I'm honest, like, I feel like every time you've done something, you're always on the hook of bringing people and whatever. And it's like, it's been the first time that I've sent everything out and I'm not paying for anything. So I feel like it's pretty cool that, like, whoever shows it, whether good or bad, it just, at least they care enough, that they want to come and they're prepared to, go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was, like, you know, like I always went above and beyond for my people. So.
Sure. What did Ellie and your kids say when you got in?
I think, again, Ellie kind of, I would say, shares a little bit of, you know, like when the people, you know, everybody that you're raced and had the opportunity to beat, like, go in prior to you, it's kind of like, and again, the rule for people listening, it's, I believe they basically make you, I think, 5 years retired.
Eligible,
so this
right.
was this was the first year that I was actually even eligible to go in.
Right.
And then, you know, there was even question, when I raced, World Supercross, not that I got to race because I got hurt, but, in 2022, you know, like, does that interfere? Like, do we have to go another 2 years because of it? Yeah. So there was a lot of discussion on things like that. And it sounds like Davey and, you know, Brock and stuff were able to kind of make that a little clearer and kind of root for me on thinking that, like, that was just me having fun, not really coming back to full-time racing, you know? So anyway, so I say that Ellie probably is more aligned, just understanding that it was not when, it was just a matter of time.
Sure. Sure.
Or if, it's just when, where my kids are, and again, my kids are my kids, and they're kind of used to it, you know, like, it's not a big deal, and I guess that's good and bad.
Yeah. So when as far as the you know, the if there was one for a rider's wife, I mean, you know, if there's a Hall of Fame for riders' wives, Ellie would be in there. I mean, she has been literally your soldier in arms from day one.
Definitely, just, you know, she's OG, you know, just rad, and, you know, she's been there from the beginning, and you know, it hasn't always been, you know, smooth catwalk, but it's always been fun. We've always made it a team, and we've always been better as a team. You know, like, I think over the years, you have people come in that try to, you know, drive you apart, or, you know, try to think, you know, you'd be better without that, and try to kind of somewhat intervene and take over her role. And, you know, you quickly just realize over the years that, you know, we were always better together and as a team. And, so yeah, she'd be and I think more than what she did for me personally, obviously that's important, but I think for me, it's what she represents, for our sport, you know, and, you know, obviously having a daughter racing, she's a huge advocate for women and girls racing, and she gets it. You know, I think that she understands, you know, a lot of things that normal people don't understand. You know, like, she understands the bigger picture, and, you know, she fights for what is, I think, worth fighting for. And knowing, you know, the shortcomings in the politics of our sport, she understands that very clearly. So she, you know, she advocates in the right way to make a difference.
Will anybody from Australia be coming to your ceremony?
I don't believe so. You know, like, obviously my dad passing, it would be nice to have my mom there, but then, I don't know that, you know, I don't know if I'll regret that at some point in my life, but, like, you know, that's also not that easy, you know, then I have to feel like I have to babysit, and, you know, I would have to buy her a ticket and all those kinds of things, which is all well and good. It's just, I don't know that. Sometimes I just want to go and enjoy the evening as well.
If your dad,
it'll be, I believe it's live streamed, so I'm hoping that she can watch it on live stream.
Yeah, that's true. Because I remember watching Travis's, thinking, "Who let that idiot with a microphone?" Because he goes.
Maybe I need to go back and YouTube and watch. Watch Travis.
He's a comedy routine. Yeah, he definitely you know, he did himself. But going back to with your dad, because you look back and reflect and all that stuff. I mean, and I know you've made peace with all of that, and I think that's one of those reflective things as you get older and you're a dad yourself. But you know, what do you think he would say? What do you think your dad would say to you being inducted and in this final, you know, chapter of your legendary career being recognized?
Knowing my dad, he'd say something along the lines of about time, or you know, like well, yeah, like
duh,
no shit, like you know, like you know, that's what you should be doing, you know, or you should be in the Hall of Fame, like something like that. I don't know that there'd be any, actually, I'm almost positive that there wouldn't be some big soggy, like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you, you know, you crushed it. And like, that's just not who he was, you know, he may not even acknowledge it, to be honest. He may be just like, oh, cool, you know.
Wow.
Who knows? Like, that's just, he was a tough man, and unfortunately, he did not show any emotions.
Yeah.
And I would say I have 50% of him in me, and I feel like I'm at least 50% better than him at that.
Yeah.
But I still would like to be better at showing emotion, but I definitely, you know, the apple didn't fall from the tree.
So I mean, there's no way you're crying. I mean, you're not getting choked up.
I'll probably cry. Who knows?
Wow.
I will cry probably. And honestly, he'll be the asshole that makes me cry.
When you say that, right.
You know, like he, you know, like that'll tear at the heartstrings, you know. Like, I think that for me, it's the reflection of your childhood and what I genuinely just admire about what he did for me at that age, and traveling around the country and giving me all those opportunities, and, you know, and we lived in a very different world, but like, I couldn't imagine doing racing at the level that we did it, as consistently as we did it, with, you know, with what he had going on. So
right.
I feel really blessed that, you know, we're really fortunate as a family to do what we do, but we're in a very different category than what my parents were in.
You and I are very similar. I think we've talked about this before, but, you know, I was raised by a Marine, and his dad was a Marine too. So it was the exact same thing growing up. But you know, as they age, you look at it, and it's still your dad. It's still your dad. So you can try to detach yourself from those core emotions. But like you said, that it might all come bubbling up, because you and I are the same too, where we never dealt with that shit. We're just like, you know, we just put it aside and be like, you know, I'm an independent man. I don't need that. And then you think, man, I kind of do need my dad's approval. I still fucking do. And I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah. It sucks when they're gone, when you kind of still, again, I don't need it, but it would have been nice to hear it.
Sure. That is, hey, when they're doing all of your accolades, and they're talking about championships and your record podiums and starts and all that stuff, they need to add that Ricky Carmichael said you were his toughest competitor. That needs to be on your Hall of Fame, accolades somewhere.
Well, and James said it too, so it makes me really proud.
Yes, I mean, dude,
you know, like when two close friends now, and just two people I have nothing but respect for, and, you know, especially, you know, James more than anything. I feel like Ricky and I always had a really high level of respect.
Yeah.
James and I feel like the respect was there, but there was definitely, it was much more, you know, murky and just heated, and, you know, like we essentially kind of just hated each other on the surface. But deep down, I had nothing but respect for him always, but it definitely, unfortunately, always went, you know, the other way. And I think that in recent years, you know, we get on really close, you know, well, and we're more liked than you'd ever imagine. And, you know, hanging out with these, you know, with Big James, and just realizing how close Big James is to my family and my dad. And just, it is. It's really cool to have opportunities and moments that people that you really genuinely are not only just badass, but you know, you just have a lot of respect for him.
Do you and James ever talk about the neck incident, like the grabbing of the neck? Do you guys ever talk about that?
We talked about it. I believe I went on his show and he kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, like most things that we talk about are almost like it'll be like industry related, or something that we talk about. Like, you kind of just, again, you know, a lot happens in our industry that you know, whether you believe in it or not. And there's only certain people that you can generally speak to that understand where you live, you know, the life you lived. And sometimes I don't know that it's always better today, or it's as good as people talk about it. And so it's always nice to get, you know, understand, like, where you can talk to those guys and, again, just get like their opinion on something.
And you just overlapped what that was like. And, you know, I covered you guys from day one, and I've covered it since. And there's no doubt in my mind that was the greatest time of our generation. I mean, that the stadiums, the being packed, and the in between and not being everything instantaneous. I mean, this gratification we have now where everything online is, it was the hype, it was the buildup, it was up to, the press conferences after, it was it was all of those things that just simmered the entire time you guys raced. Like this is, to me, nowadays it's more petty. It's more, and then, it's like a gotcha moment. Back then it was genuine. It was genuine fucking hate and wanting to beat the guy. And it was so real. It's hard
to fake it. Yes. Do it to fake what we had, it was really special and again, not always in the greatest way, like I said, we had brutal Sundays and, where you didn't sleep all night Saturday night and you just wake up Sunday, just ready to kill people, and go back to work. And, but it was real. It was intense. And, but I think in general, even outside of us as individuals, just the sport, I think the mid 2000s with X Games and, doing the Supermoto. And I just think the world was so different maybe. And it was the opportunities that we had as racers were really cool. And it just doesn't seem as when I go to the races, I don't necessarily look and see people really loving the sport like we did, it was we were super serious and whatever, but I feel I don't know, it's just different. Something's changed about it and I can't put a finger on it.
Hey, we're getting old, but I feel the same way. I mean, it's and I'm not, when you look at the fans, you look at the whatever, it's a completely different vibe. And I said this about 5 or 10 years ago. I mean, I literally said, I had this conversation with another former factory rider, and we kind of agreed that it's completely different, and that's fine. We've evolved, whatever that is, whatever this is. But I agree with you. It's a different level of commitment, and it's a different vibe.
Different, and it's just and just the sport and where it's going and. It's, I attended my first SMX race last weekend and it was different, I don't know that, I just still, I guess as a more, again, I'll get myself into trouble here, but, I'll try to keep it minimal, but as a dad, I keep a finger on the pulse because I have a son that wants to go do this in 3 years' time. And sometimes you're just man, it sucks that, you really wish you were signing your kids up for, something better than what I had. And I don't know that I really believe that to be true. Mm-hmm. Just the Supercross is awesome. Motocross is awesome. Combined, I don't know that I love it. When I sat in the stands last weekend, I didn't necessarily get the best Supercross vibe and I didn't get the best motocross vibe. And I love them both very much, but it wasn't like you combined them and the next minute I had this crazy excitement level of wow, this is it, and that's, it's interesting how it'll be. I'm looking forward to the success or the path that they go. And if they start to change it up a little bit, cause I don't know that it's working the way that, and I could be completely wrong. Just my personal opinion is I don't know that it's, at least I'm starting to hear things in the industry that I've never heard. At least everybody had really high hopes of something, and now you're starting to hear different things or people wanting to recommend different solutions to it. And so I hope that it'll
evolve. Yeah.
I hope it evolves because it seems that I don't know that I love what happened.
We've had some great SMX races. The series has come down. I mean, it's provided a lot, and ultimately I love that Feld and MX Sports got together, and it wasn't a competition anymore. That it was a union for the betterment of the sport. I love all those things. I don't like that how many races that these pros have to race every year. I do not like that. So it's one of those things where it's a give and a take, but I do like the production level, the internet access, the TV packages that we have. I mean, all those things are so much better than in our day. So there are positives. There's no doubt that they are definitely trying to make this a better product.
Yeah, totally agree. Just I just from a fan sitting in the stands, I hope that there's maybe a little tweak of it. And I don't know if there is a perfect tweak to it because it's, when you think of combining Supercross and motocross, it really is a big challenge,
Yeah.
I just know as a fan sitting in the stand and it's hard to watch, like in particular, like the one at Charlotte where
Speedway,
I don't know,
or drag strip. Yeah.
Yeah. It just wasn't like you weren't on top of it. Like when I go to Supercross, or at least I sit in the stands, me personally, there's just an intense vibe that you get from Supercross that, and maybe it's because I raced it and it was just my favorite, but like, even as a fan and as I'd sit there and you see it, you feel it, you can almost touch the riders. And then, motocross, when I go to motocross, it's like, for me, it's how core and real it is. It's just brutal. It's nasty. And you can just see the guy suffering, and you just have nothing but respect for it. And just SMX is a little tougher that doesn't come out as much as I thought it would.
Are you going to go any more? Because that was obviously in your
We're going to go this weekend, actually.
Okay,
I'm actually excited to go to, Pace and Kyer and I are going to go this weekend. Tate is busy doing something with Ellie this weekend, but and so I'm excited to watch that. And I think that the vibe will be different because it's a stadium.
Sure.
And so, yeah, for me, I hope it's closer to Supercross feeling. I just love that feeling of Supercross.
That's what
I didn't get that. I didn't get that feeling sitting in the stands at Charlotte. And so I'm really excited about going to St. Louis. St. Louis is, it's a cool stadium, and I'm excited to see how they do it. Going outside the stadium, I mean, obviously it brings back vibes of going to Paris and racing outside the stadium, or even Australia did it a little bit. So I'm really excited about how this one works. And for me personally, I really hope it works and it promotes like great racing, because I think that platform is the way to go. All
right. Hey, you mentioned on your question segment you guys just did on 22 TV that RC had a bunch of weaknesses, but he overcame them. He said you had him covered, in the big whoops and things like that. But what when you raced him, what were his weaknesses that you thought you could exploit week in and week out?
Ricky he always had weaknesses, but he never seemed to show them, or was never vulnerable to them during the 20 lap race that they handed out 25 points.
Perfect.
And I think that's the easiest way to say it is the practices or the heat race, or maybe you get, I wouldn't say lucky, but maybe there was years like 2003. I can honestly say I've never, the last 6 races, and I know he was fighting for a title, but you just know Ricky is wired to win. He's wired to give it all his everything. And, if I'm completely honest, I was riding around sometimes at 50% waiting on him and, just trying to force him into a mistake so that I could gain more than 3 points off of him. And you just couldn't get him to do it. But so then, and then obviously after that, he went to Suzuki. And Suzuki, he was a lot tougher. The bike, the tires, all those things met. We were on actually the tide that flipped a little bit. We got the aluminum frame, which kind of sucked. And then we were new to it. Yamaha didn't have experience, and so we had a big old, a much steeper learning curve than we had predicted or thought we would have.
Right.
And so the shoe was on the other foot, you'd kind of laugh and, think about all the struggles that they would have, trying to turn on the Honda in those days and, go through the whoops. And then suddenly we were having all the same problems. And you're like, man, it was like time to come back and get you. But that would be the biggest thing I would say. Just, again, it wasn't that he had this crazy weakness, but he had a bunch of things that he would do that you could exploit, but exploiting it
during the main,
during the main and doing it week after week. I think that was what I learned. That's what I took from him, and tried to, and you had to rise up to that level of, when you look at all the podiums that I had and, having the most in the history of the sport, Ricky forced that, that was, you had to, if you wanted to beat Ricky or even compete against him, you had to be that level of, a podium percentage because he just didn't make mistakes when it come time to handing out 25 points.
When you, I loved when you said that you tested the Suzuki that year, and he's like, "What? He didn't even know that."
Yeah, right. That was funny.
Can we just go on the record and say that riders test other bikes while they're still under contract, and all OEMs do it? So it's kind of like that, don't ask, don't tell policy.
Yeah, I think that everybody does it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I don't know a team that hasn't done it.
Right.
Every time I've switched bikes, I've rode the bike prior to it. Everybody does it. I mean, when you're going to sign into a multi-million-dollar deal that's, long-term, 2 to 3 years, you want to know what you're getting yourself into, and the bike is the best opportunity,
When you look at bike switches next year, who do you like better, Sexton to Cowie or Tomac to KTM for the bike switch?
It'll be interesting. I think on the surface you kind of think of different things. Like when I look at, let's say, I compare how Chase sets his bike up, and I don't know that it's terribly different than how Eli sets it up.
Okay.
And so when you see the success that Chase is able to have on the KTM, it sounds like, I haven't been on Eli's inner circle, but it sounds like he loves power, and the more you give him, the better. I think that KTM has probably the best, if one of the best, if not the best, engine programs. And so I really think that Eli is going to be sneaky good. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. It's all about how it all gels. My prediction how does KTM, do they allow Eli to come and inherit the KYB style fork? Do they fix their shock problems?
Mm-hmm.
Or do they come in and then reset the rules and say, no, we're on WP, you have to run air or our system? And then can Eli get comfortable and up to speed on that? Those are probably my varying questions, not so much can he win, because I think that there's enough things in the building that anyone can win there. But it'll just be interesting to me to see how they go on allowing Eli to have, does he get to come in and take over Chase's spot, basically? And as far as Chase to Cowie, again, I think that when you look at the way he sets his bike up at KTM, it'll be interesting because, typically Cowie likes a balance in a little different way. But again, it's hard for me to comment because I also, Chase is one of my good friends and probably the one I talk to the most. So I know he's excited. I guess I shouldn't say that. We shouldn't confirm something.
Yeah. But he's excited about the possibility. He's excited about the possibility. But the thing to me is, when he left, Honda, I know Jet and Hunter were coming, and he was, it's just one of those things. It's like when you don't know, you have ridden every OEM. But when you do that, like you said, there's so many unknown variables. It's almost impossible to predict because it's the rider and the bike, it's the bike and the rider, it's the team and the. I mean, all those things have to come together for a successful off season going into Anaheim. I mean, it's one of those. I don't think anybody could take odds on.
The bike is less than it used to be. Meaning, I think all the manufacturers have done a really good job. For the most part, all the bikes are really good. I think they're all really close. Of course, they all have their positives and negatives and whatever. And, the rider has to gel with some of those. But I really believe that it's more important for the rider to fall into place and gel with the team. Because that's where the vibe comes from. Riders, unfortunately, we ride on vibes, it can be the best bike in the world, and then a team can just completely ruin that vibe and that feeling, and everything just goes south, So I really think that it'll be about how the guys, get on with the teams and how well they gel. I think that I take Chase's words, but he felt like he went to KTM because he felt like it was the first team that wanted him personally and only him, and then he only lasted 2 years. And so he's kind of chasing something, there's something that Chase needs that he hasn't got at Honda and KTM. And we'll see if Kawi can provide that service,
I know this year was an awesome season as it came down to Cooper Webb, winning again. And, I mean, how many times are we going to write off Coop before people realize that, you just can't let that Bulldog, alone?
Yeah. You can relate to Coop so much because you give him an inch and he takes it a mile.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to be able to live like that, for a long time. And I don't know, Coop's so clever and he's good and he's of age that he's, you never question his work ethic or anything like that. I think that and I think it's tough right now because it's kind of, where he's kind of being plagued with a couple of injuries back to back. And, I don't really think we're seeing the best version of him, and I think that in the big scheme of things, I think he understands that he is the champion. That box is ticked. And I think that he's already kind of moved on from 2025 and ready to probably get some downtime and then start, reset the mind and the body for 2026. So, but yeah, like you said, I'd never count out Coop.
How do you think he would survive back in your day with his mental game and his attitude? And let's throw him in the mix. How would he do with his mental toughness and kind of his head games with you all back then?
I think that, he'd fit right in. I think that we'd have him as a very miserable person if he lived in our era for sure. But, I've seen Coop and I can relate to, when you see him post race, he's just, he's deep in thought and he's mad and whatever. And, kind of just knowing the error and the ups and downs that we all encountered, I think, he'd be a miserable.
Hey, what'd you tell RC that what'd you tell RC that you regret all the times that you were pissed for getting second? Looking back, you're like, that's pretty damn good at the time.
Well, now, that's your 43-year-old perspective. It's like, it really, like how many times you were just so mad and just like, but then I don't know that I'd ever want to undo that because like that was the fuel. That's what kept me going. That was the fuel, and so, yeah, I could always say that there's, I wish I enjoyed the moment more. I wish I didn't, have as many sleepless nights, but then I also am happy for those moments and I miss those moments more today than I ever thought I would too,
Yeah. When I talk to K-Dub and we talk about the, when you retire and you move away, does it get easier being out of the spotlight after being in it for so long?
I don't know that for me, it's like everywhere you go or whatever. It's still, I always feel pretty relevant to what's happening. Whenever I go to a race, I'm still well recognized, and many people want to talk about the old times and stuff. So I don't know that I really know what it feels like to not have that, I guess. I still, I retired, and obviously for a couple of years there, it was a little bit of a downtime, but we're being kind of pretty boots on the ground, immersed into amateur motocross. And, so on a weekend basis, you encounter a lot of people that talk about, the past and that, they ask a lot of questions of, advice and things like that. And so you kind of feels nice that you're able to, be you. Everybody's super respectful of that, but you also get to help people in some ways, like a lot of people have questions, and of course you don't always have all the answers, but you try to.
Yeah. He was very honest saying that, he's never found anything in life that replicates coming through the tunnel at A1. That's just,
if you're specifically talking about that, I think, that's special for sure.
Yeah.
Again, just, and very few people can understand what that feels like. You know, like again,
exclusive club.
You know, like when you think of, you know, K-Dub in particular, I mean, you know, turning the lights off to the stadium and bro hitting 120-foot transfer and, you know, the whole crowd. I mean, like he raced a large portion of the end of his career where he, you know, the last 5-6 years where he was one of the favorite guys, you know. He was the old guy pretty early on when soon as LaRocca, it was funny. As soon as LaRocca retired, it went all to Kevin. And then it was just Kevin, and it was like all the retirement questions, all the old guy questions. Like I didn't have any of it. And then I'm telling you, the night Kevin retired at Anaheim 3 or whatever it was, like all that went to me, like everything. But then the good part is you inherit a lot of those fans that root for the old guy.
Sure.
And I was able to, you know, feel that. And so it's funny. Like I think that like what Kevin's really referring to is the feeling, and that like when in your later period of your career, there's a different, I don't know, there's something different about it. You know, like you go through, I think age, kids, you know, and perspective, it all kind of meets at the right time and you really get to enjoy it.
It's so amazing to me because you look back and, you know, I've known RC since on 125s and you when you got here and things, and you look at the evolution of somebody's career and you watch the highs and the lows, and then towards the end, it's not a sad thing. It's one of those things where I always thought you could still win. I mean, Wygant used to give me so much shit because you could be in like 12th place with 2 laps to go. I'm like, he's going to fucking podium. You watch, he's going to do it. Like, so there's, you know, that you still think that, you know, that you're going to win, but the reality is that everybody's time is limited. So it's one of those things. It's such a personal, you know, decision to retire, and when you do, you know, what goes along with that is something that's going to be missing that you can't replace until the end of your day. So it's you know, it's definitely a give and take when you decide to walk away.
It's interesting, you know, like I mean, Ricky in particular, RV, and Dungey being the 3 that kind of retired at 26 years old.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I just have zero reality to that. Like, I have just no understanding of, like, how they walked away and how they are okay, you know? Like, and again, you know, Ricky in the last 10 years has changed a lot as a person, you know, and I think that not continuing to race and whatever, like, he didn't, like, for me, it's like, you don't even know who you are as a person at 26, I think, let alone, you know, retiring and stepping away from everything that you know. That's just, and again, they may have a completely different perspective on it, but like for me, when it just seems so crazy that they stepped away, you know, at such a young age. And I just, like, I loved it too much. It wasn't about, like, of course it was about winning, and obviously I was still competitive and winning at that point, but like, for me, it was just the love of the sport. Even when I was older and I wasn't winning, it was like just loving. Like, again, going back to what you just said about Kevin, it's like the adrenaline and the rush that you get riding through the Anaheim Stadium or coming out. Like, it was so fulfilling, and it was a drug that was really hard to give up.
Yep. Just raw energy, like, you know, straight into your veins, like literally, like just a lightning bolt into your wrists. I mean, I can't even imagine that. But you to be recognized in the AMA Hall of Fame, to me, just shows that not only did you ride that lightning bolt the longest you rode it the right way. I mean, that's the. You know, that, think about this. Think about all the people that you've raced with and have come and gone before and after you that had such abbreviated careers for whatever reasons and never reached those levels of success, and maybe regret or whatever happens. But I mean, your list is one of the greatest of, you know, that has raced, and especially from Australia. But you know, you rode the lightning bolt, and you rode it well.
Yeah, I always like to say I squeezed the lemon as much as I could, you know.
Yeah. Hey, you know, when you told RC too, when you left Australia, that you didn't think about, you know, winning the records or whatever, you said that you were worried about, you know, busy living in the moment, and what better life lesson can you teach your children and through your videos and the world is, you know, live the day. I mean, don't worry about this. You know, your legacy will be built on what you do that day.
Yeah, no, totally. And you just, again, like the great people you talk to, None of them, they all thought that they were going to win races and win forever, and nothing's forever. And but I don't know that there's like, it's even interesting. Like when you ask that question, and it's like James early on, he was kind of like, it was almost like the fourth one, right? Like when you think of Jeremy, Ricky, myself, and then him, he was like the fourth one that had a number to chase. And he really was vocal about chasing the 72.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, you think of somebody who had just a crazy win percentage, early on in his big bike career.
He's going to make it. Yeah.
And you look at it, and he's still 22 races short.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's like Tiger with the majors. You thought Tiger was going to shatter the majors record, and he never did. I mean, it's
yeah.
So we're
kind of faced with it. Like when you think of like the ratio that Jet's winning at, you're just like, Jet seemingly, like, why would he not think about the 72? It seems totally possible today, and I don't know if that continues for the next 15 years or
right.
Or if it tapers off, or if he gets bored with all the winning and he's, has other opportunities. You just never know, and it's just why 43-year-old self-talking, you just got to enjoy the moment, live in the moment, and do the best that you can, on every Saturday night.
What if Jet just did like bail and just walks away? He's just like,
yeah, right. He's what? I think he just turned 23.
Yeah, maybe 22 or 23. Yeah, so he's
and 3 more years he ain't getting the record, and that's where it all came to a crashing end. Not a crashing end, but that's where it all ended for Ricky and RV and Dungey. And like when you look at the rate that those guys were winning, like it seemed like, okay, it's possible to get to 72, and then just like that, it was over. And you just. I have no idea where Jet's at mentally, and like what his goals are, but you just never know,
Mm-hmm.
like you just, I guess as a fan, you just got to appreciate the badass athlete that Jet is, and just watch it while you can, because you don't know when it's going to be over. You don't know when they get bored, or, does Hayden come in and make a difference? And like, it'll be interesting.
RC hates every time I get him on the show. He hates when I ask him for predictions because he doesn't like to give them or whatever. But this is a year and a half away. But what do you think? I mean, that's a carrot for Hagen, the Deegan for sure, is to chase Jet and that being the best out there. But do you think that it's going to take a 1 year, 2 years? Do you think that Daniel Blair was on the show last week and he said basically said there's no way that he beats Jet the first year of Supercross. There's just no possible way. Not given race. I'm talking about for the championship.
I think here's what I think about like Hayden. I think Hayden is underestimated a little bit. I think he has a reputation of being, that he overrides the bike and he's kind of like this crazy kid. And I really believe that he's much more calculated. He's much more clever than you think, and people give him credit for. And so I think results, you can't shy away by the numbers. Like he aligns with all the numbers in the right way, right? Like that, if you look at, if you're comparing him to Jet, like
same time, right?
He aligns like number per number. Like he's on the right track to, I think in some cases he's better, like he has better numbers. So I don't know that I would feel comfortable predicting because I think so much can happen. What I do believe and what my personal opinion is I believe that Jet is probably the best, supercross, motocross, talent, like I think he has both. He's strong at both. He doesn't really have one better than the other. Where I think Hayden has a much higher ceiling currently in motocross than he does supercross. I think supercross, he lacks some fundamentals And if he addresses those and can adapt to the 450, then the ceiling is really high.
Mm-hmm.
So you just don't know. And again, obviously we know that Hayden's going to race 250 next year, which it's a shame for the fans, but I also see, that he gets to still get more under his belt, gets to run the one in Supercross and kind of tick that box, and then he'll race motocross on 450. So yeah, I don't know. I think I wouldn't underestimate Hayden. I think he's really clever.
What about his style to the 450 though? I mean, that's one of those. Jet is as smooth. When you watch him on a rough track, he's like ballet. I mean, it is just amazing how smooth he can make a rough track look. Deegan just beats the shit out of a track. He just rides it like he's trying to punch it in the throat. And on a 450, it's you'd go with the smooth as opposed to the to the sledgehammer.
And I guess the only thing I would say to that is, if there's any human that you just described, it's Ricky Carmichael that replicates that, and he's the greatest of all time. I think that Hayden is a lot like, I think he's technically, does some things nicer than what Ricky did. But I think that he's similar in the way. So it's like, do we see the similar thing where he's able to, have success, and maybe Supercross is a little harder, like Ricky's entry into Supercross didn't go so smooth.
Nope.
But I would say that, like, I guess as a fan of the sport, like my kids and what I watching and Tate obviously looks up to Jet and, tries to ride like him. He's kind of skin tall like Jet, so it makes it easier to replicate. But what I would be more interested at and what I'm excited about is, why try to beat somebody at their own game if you have your own game? And in this case, Hayden being, and I don't necessarily buy into everything you said. Like, I think that he's smoother than you think. I think he's more precise than you think. Sometimes the RPM possibly, shadow that. I think if I watch Jet revs it more than people think. I listen to him on the ground, and he's very smooth and very clever. But he masks it a lot in his style, where Hayden doesn't seem to mask it.
So it looks different, yeah.
And he is also on a Yamaha, which obviously makes a lot of airbox noise in the top. So it's like two of those things. I think sometimes when you hear it, it makes the visual maybe more extreme than it is. But I'm excited because I think Jet's style is unbelievably just beautiful and amazing.
Yeah.
But then I also love Hayden, and I just hope that Hayden stays true to himself and takes that style or that way of riding and takes it versus it. And then we as fans win because we get to watch a guy be super beautiful to watch, and then other guy possibly wring the neck out of it and make it whatever, So I don't know. It's a win-win for all of us.
Hey, as an international rider, you're very well suited to answer this question. The enigma that is Prado. I don't know if you've worked with him and you don't want to or can't speak to that, but what happened, Chad?
I got to work with him. I got to be, quiet on the inside of understanding what the problem is. And so with that said, I don't know that I can answer it in the most truthful ways that I would feel best. I always like to tell what I feel, and I would just say that he's very unique as a person.
Mm-hmm.
He has needs that clearly Kawasaki couldn't meet, and that's probably about all I can say.
Okay.
So
yeah, because
we'll see what happens. We'll see, because that's the best thing. It's just, for me, I think it's just, again, like if he does go to KTM, like it's rumored, then if the results improve, then there was something there. If the results don't change and he continues to do what he did this year, then it falls in the lap of Jorge.
Are you buying Prado stock? If it was a stock, would you buy it or sell it or hold it or what?
I don't know that I would gamble. I'm not much of a gamble guy these days, but I think that the thing I would say is, I think as a 2-time MXGP champion, it's my opinion that he's much better than he was this year. Is he as good? as Jet and all those guys winning, from the little I was around, and for as unhappy as he was and as close as he was in the sand, there's hope there that he can be, that I think he can add a lot to our championship, on if the bike is the problem. I just think that there's so many variations for him. He's the non-American thing, coming to the U.S., where you're located, bike setup. He's been used to being on works bikes that have, completely different things, So I just think that there's so many things that he's going to have to adjust to.
Okay.
And we'll see. Time will tell if all those are fixable things or not.
Well, he needs to. Somebody needs to take away his phone and these social media replies and stuff. He's not doing himself any favors. And how?
Well, that I agree with you 100%. And I also believe that, like, at a certain point, I feel like it's the responsibility of Kawasaki to just, like, when somebody's not speaking in a good way, like, you got to also limit the media exposure, and in particular one media person, and I'm sure you know who that is.
Yes.
Like, why would you put your guy in front of him week after week when that guy is not going to bring out the best of your athlete, and he's not, like, he's, like, that's for me, that was really uncalled for. And my personal opinion would be that I would have just removed and the media privileges to that individual.
Yeah.
It was such a losing battle.
It is. And American fans,
it was like a really bad movie that kept going on.
And American fans, we've seen across generations that we love and adopt international riders. There's no doubt that it's not that, but we are also very aware of bitches and people, not making excuses and things. I mean, and you don't get very many chances. I mean, that's the bad thing with American fans. You don't get very many chances before you already have a reputation, and then it's going to be hard to reverse all that stuff. So, to me, I would love him just to, either have somebody write something for him that basically doesn't give me any more trouble, or just shut up until this gets resolved, or he moves on.
Yeah, first impressions are big.
It's hard. It's going to be hard. I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be hard for him. Hey, we've all been following Kaya's injury and her recovery, and can I just say what an amazing, beautiful, and strong spirit that she has, and you all must be just so proud of her strength and how she has rebounded from that.
She's a beast. She's crazy. Like, I'm sitting here and the four of them, the three kids in LA, are playing paddle. Pickleball right now.
Okay.
They're all pickleballing. So I'm waiting on Ellie. Ellie's going to have to sub me in. She's getting tired.
Okay.
No,
okay.
I'm joking. But, and she just, just so quickly recovered and bounced back like nothing happened, she really hasn't had the full, blessing of the doctor to get back to contact sports. But how do you hold someone back like that? So it's like she rides a little bit, but we're not fully back, doing everything just yet. But we're kind of trying to slowly roll that a little bit. But as a person, she runs, she goes to the gym, she's backflips on the trampoline. Like, she's crazy. Shit, like, you don't even, if you didn't know anything, Ellie and I are the ones left with the scar. We're the ones scared,
That's a good point.
It's gnarly.
I'm a girl dad, so I understand that when little girls are hurt, it's different than boys, right? I mean, I would imagine that. I didn't have sons, but I just seeing your little baby girl in a hospital bed just has to hit a little bit different. And then you look at her from day one. I mean, her spirit and her smile were in the she was in the a day or two out smiling. I mean, Ellie did a great job, documenting all that stuff, and we got to follow that journey. But I just think, I was showing my wife, and I just kept saying she's got such a beautiful spirit. I mean, that she's just you can just see what a fighter she is.
She's the craziest spirit. I mean, just talk about rip your heart out when you find out at 11:45 at night that that your daughter's going to have spine surgery. It's just like freaks you out, and you're just like, it hits it a little different. But the boys and I showed up, you know, so when she came back from surgery and out of recovery, you know, like she was there, and, you know, it was the first time that she had seen the boys in like a day. You know, and she's kind of there, and she's kind of like funny, obviously, like her personality, even in pain and on drugs, she was like coming out of like the anesthesia, and it's like she does this weird thing with her mouth, and next minute she's just like, the doc gave me a Bakiami, you know, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then the boys just lost it. And Ellie and I just look at each other and like, oh my God, this chick.
This chick is killing us.
No, she's, every dad should have a daughter for sure.
What did you say?
I was really afraid of girls, honestly.
Yeah.
I was, you know, like most of my cousins and, you know, like my family, like we were all, you know, it was just heavily boys. So I just, you know, forever being around boys and brother, you know, like I only have a brother and all those kinds of things. And just funny that, you know, like I was always afraid of having a daughter, but oh my God, it's the most amazing thing.
What have you said that you have to separate your good and bad days on the bike, and you can't ever, you know, it's like you think about she'll never get back on a bike. She'll be afraid of that, or you know, a rider could say that, but that's never been your philosophy. And she's obviously taken that. I mean, I don't think she ever thought about not continuing to do whatever she wanted to do in life.
Yeah, she started, you know, like I know that like one of the, maybe like the 4th, 5th day, you know, starting to feel a little better and, you know, less pain and whatever. And I remember that she, you know, Ellie walked her out of the room and into the, you know, cause she was in the children's side of it, into one of the little children's thing. And she was drawing and, you know, like she kind of wrote that, you know, she'll ride a dirt bike again and all those things. So she kind of already, you know, kind of made that decision and committed to it. And, you know, like we picked her up. I want to say we picked her up on a Wednesday or maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday. And Ellie and I were kind of left with the decision. Like we had an area qualifier at Chilitown. So it was going to be about a, you know, 9-10 hour drive.
Yeah.
And we're just like, do we really, like, is this fair? You know, like we're kind of like asking, you know, like, what do we do? You know, like she's in a back brace when she's not, you know, sitting down or whatever. And you're just like, what are we doing? And then it's like, you talk to her and she's like, yeah, we should go. And she just kind of was adamant that we go and we continue on. And so it's kind of like, I forget if it was a Tuesday or Wednesday, and essentially we picked her up and we hit the road. And by Friday, she was completely off all drugs, not having any drugs.
Yeah.
And she was walking around and the smile started to come back. We had tears on I want to say it was the Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And it kind of hit her that Tate was going to try to race Loretta's and she was not going to be able to race Loretta's. And that was kind of like the first moment that she like let her guard down and she cried and whatever. But then she was fine. She was there and she supported her brother and walked around and she was a trooper.
Well, yeah, you punched your ticket to Loretta's, and one of the best videos was, you know, with you and your kids up on the podium. I mean, that.
Oh yeah.
Oh, dude, that
was the coolest part. Her and Tate got to spray a little bubbly.
Yes. Well, Tate needs. You should have given Tate a little bit better, and you know, he definitely was a rookie at the champagne because he's obviously not drinking age. But seeing you up there with the kids was, and that smile on your face was as genuine as it gets.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because I get a bigger kick out of that than going to Loretta's. Like for me, like Loretta's is not on my bucket list necessarily, you know, like it's really not like I go, it's cool. And one day I'll totally do it, but it's just right now the priority isn't that, you know, getting a ticket. Like I've done the area qualifiers, but never gone through with the regional up until this year.
Yep.
So this year was like the first time I like legit got tickets and it was a cool moment, but then I don't know that it was ever going to get cooler than that. Like it was, again, it didn't work out. I was completely committed and I was in the best shape that I'd been on in 5 years, you know, since retiring. Like I was ready to go and fight for 25 plus and 40 championship. You know, I really think watching that I was good enough to, you know, at least fight for them, if not win them. That was the position I was putting myself in. And so that was fun for me. Like, I enjoyed that part. And like, I can honestly say I didn't really miss any of the racing because I get more out of the other stuff these days than the actual racing side of it.
That's awesome. Dude,
maybe I just need to sign. Maybe I need to just sign up for the training side of it.
Hey, it got you back in shape. It did.
It was really fun. Like, I really enjoyed that part of it, and getting to train with Tate and ride with him a little bit, and now he's getting old enough to start plugging into the gym routines and things like that. And so it's kind of nice that you can contribute at a level that most dads can't.
Hey, well, like Ricky said on his podcast, you're a great man on and off the bike. You've always been a human first, and we've always enjoyed that and admired that throughout your career, man. Congratulations again on the Hall of Fame induction. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy. We followed the entire career, and we loved being part of this as well, all the way through to the end and seeing it. So thanks for catching up, man. We're glad that Kai is doing well and Tate's healed back on the bike, and so get out there and relieve Ellie on pickleball and get your calories. Burn some calories today, brother.
Yeah, I gotta stay fit. I gotta fit into my jacket now at the Hall of Fame. So
yeah. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, you gotta show up looking better than you did your qualifier. Yeah. This is going to be immortalized.
I gotta show up looking like an athlete again.
All right, Chad. Congratulations. We'll talk soon, brother. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye. Bye. All right, there we go. Chad Reed, Hall of Fame inductee. How cool is that? I mean, happened to a good guy, a better guy as far as an international rider. Has chased his dreams, all the success, all the records, all the championships, all that stuff, and still giving back to the Moto Combine, still doing all of those things with his kids. 22 TV on YouTube. Make sure you guys check that out if you have not. It's a really cool insight into his family and what he's trying to do in amateur racing with Tate, who hopefully in the next couple of years here he's going to try to turn pro and do this. So it's a very good video series to check it out. We didn't get to our Dunlop 5 questions because he had to go play pickleball, but thanks to Dunlop, of course, always the best tires in the business, including the new GeoMax line for all types of dirt. Check them out at Ride Dunlop. And again, Racer X MX Sports, the great folks there at W Wheels, W Lab, their new custom t-shirt printing division. Make sure you do that as well. OGO Concept 2 Rowers, we appreciate you guys for tuning in and supporting us for all of these years, and our listeners as well. So DMXS, we are back when we're back. Peace.
Way from DeWitt, and you're listening to DMXS Radio.
Get ready, America, because WUSA is your #1 source for quality wheel sets in America. WUSA offers all the top brands that you and the world's best racers know and trust, like Reed, Dungey, Millsaps, Tickle, Sealy, Short, and more. All rely and trust WUSA, because all our wheels are built right in our shop in Orange, California. And if you want it custom made for your bike, like the world's best freestyle riders, Renner, Deegan, Adams, Madison, Mason, Sherwood, and others, you can choose different spoke and nipple colors for a completely custom look that'll dazzle you. Off-road riding, WUSA can build you wheels for the absolute toughest of conditions. And W also offers DID and Excel rims, along with OEM replacement spoke and nipple kits for your stock hubs. Need brakes? W offers the industry's best oversized and standard brake kits from Galfer and Brembo. Just see your local dealer or visit us at WUSA.com. Hey, you can also download the most current W catalog from the iTunes App Store. WUSA, DUBYA USA. It doesn't get any better than us.
You listen to us because we are motorcycle guys. You might even call us gurus. We are awesome.
I've been called a lot worse than that, Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, we're the guys. We know everything. I know everything about you. I know everything about movies. I know everything about the space shuttle launches and the crashes. Everything.
And because you turn to us for motorcycle knowledge, we only tell you about what's the best, Kevin, because our spotless reputation that we've built for 16 years is on the line. That's why.
Yeah, and I would not risk my crappy reputation on just anybody. That's why we are telling you about Dunlop tires. It's what we have on our bikes. I have a fleet of motorcycles, and they all have fresh, crispy Dunlops on them. If the pros have them, you know us amateurs are going to have them. They're good enough for them. They got to think they're good enough for us dorks.
Too good for Dunlops, you're a tire snob. We want nothing to do with you.
Yeah, good luck with that. But not just the pros use them. Everyday riders agree, and they have the testing to back it up. You can't beat the quality of Dunlop motorcycle tires.
Let's wrap this bad boy up, Kevin. Whether you're on the dirt, the road, or the track, you can depend on Dunlop. To learn more about their products, visit DunlopMotorcycleTires.com or your local pro dealer. The amateur guys are working their way up. Go to a Dunlop pro dealer. Check them out. We love them. You will too.
It's the cry of the lion, the burning in your soul, and it's the feeling that you get